Do you feel unhappy but you don't really understand why? In this video we are going to explore some themes that I believe can make people unhappy. And this is just my personal reflection on why I believe that so many of us are unhappy right now. So I'm not going to go into mental health issues or physical health issues or any of these very obvious reasons why people would be unhappy. In this video I would more like to talk about this general sense of unhappiness that so many of us are walking around with and that I have walked around with. This sense that I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do, I'm living the life that I'm supposed to live, but I'm still not happy. This is kind of the unhappiness that we're going to get into today. The first theme is being disconnected from yourself. From being alienated from yourself, from not accepting yourself, from denying yourself. And how does this happen? How do we start to disconnect from ourselves? When we first come into this world, we are connected to ourselves. But then something happens. And this something is called conditioning. Most of us, we have been brought up by caregivers who really tried their best, but they themselves have their limitations and their wounds and all these things that they brought with them in their baggage. And they're kind of passing that on to us without even realizing it. And this doesn't happen just like that. It happens slowly, year after year after year. You're receiving this conditioning, and it can be as simple as you're sad about something. Maybe something happened in kindergarten or in school, and you come home and you're sad about it, and your parents say, well, that's nothing to cry about. Come on, you have to be tough, toughen up. Or maybe you're scared of something, and someone around you says, can't be afraid of that thing. Come on, who are you? Are you a little wimp or something? Or you are mad about something and someone says, no, you can't be mad. You have to be nice. You're not allowed to scream like that. Or maybe you really want to do something. Maybe you have a dream of something that you would love to do. And your caregivers are telling you, you want to do dancing? No, that's not for you. How about we go play some tennis instead, huh? And do you see that this is kind of how we are being brought up? We're constantly not being validated for how we're feeling. You're not allowed to be angry. That thing that you're sad about, that's nothing to be sad about. Quit crying now. We know what we want, we know how we're feeling, but we are being told again and again that what we're feeling, what we want, is not right. So we're kind of learning like, what I was feeling sad, but they tell me it's nothing to be sad about. I guess I'm wrong in this moment. So we are learning to stop trusting ourselves. And we're also learning to push ourselves into the background and start to focus more on what other people want us to do so that we can fit in, so that we will not be lonely. We don't want to be abandoned, we want to fit in. And we're learning to abandon ourselves so that we can be a part of the group, so that we will stay safe and we will stay connected. But then we grow up and we still carry this mindset with us. We're always denying ourselves, our expression, our emotions, how we have felt about certain situations. And it becomes this pattern that we bring with us for the rest of our lives, where we keep denying ourselves. And we cannot really be mad at our parents for this, because they have not learned the tools. If they have not been taught how to deal with their own emotions, how can you expect them to know how to deal with their kids' emotions? We're just not being taught how to do this. And then we're kind of repeating these patterns. You're repeating how you were brought up by your parents, and that's how you kind of raised your kids, and these patterns just keep repeating, where we keep learning how to deny ourselves. I believe this is a very big reason why people are unhappy today, because they are very disconnected from themselves. They are very alienated from themselves. They've just learned to deny themselves, to push their emotions, their dreams, everything. They've learned to push that down in order to fit into the world today, into society. We're walking around in this world almost with these masks on, and we're trying to make sure to not show anything that could upset anyone or that could make anyone dislike us. And we are these very kind of pale versions of ourselves, just these little shells, these little fragments of ourselves, because we have denied so much of us that only this very small, polished version of us that we believe the world could handle, the world could accept, that's the only part we're showing. And the rest we kind of deny, even from ourselves. If we have been taught to push things down, then this is what we will do, which means that we will go through our life and bad things will happen. And when these bad things are happening, instead of learning how to process through them, to feel them, to heal them, to release them, instead what we're doing is we're pushing them down. And then we're walking around in our lives full with all these bad experiences that we have not learned how to deal with. These difficult emotions that you're carrying around with you, they don't go away by themselves unless you release them. Things could have happened to you when you were a little kid, but if you pushed that down and you did not release it, you are still carrying that with you today if you have not dealt with it yet. Can you imagine if you have gone through your life and you have just collected all these bad experiences that you have not released, that you have not healed, that you have not dealt with. And these are affecting the way you are feeling in your life. If you're carrying a lot of unresolved sadness or anger or shame or guilt with you, this is going to make you unhappy. This can also affect you in the way that it can make you believe things about yourself that are not true. If something really rough happens to you when you're a kid and no one is there to help you process through what is happening, then you're kind of left to try to make up some conclusions by yourself. And oftentimes we don't draw the right conclusions. Let's say that you have a parent that's very busy and that never has time for you. Then you might draw the conclusion that you are not important. We're making up these false stories because it's the best we have to go with. If someone is not spending time with us, that must mean that I'm not important. If someone is always yelling at me and criticizing me and being mean to me, that must mean that there's something wrong with me and I deserve to be treated like that. And then it just becomes this background story that we have that sometimes we are not even aware of because we haven't learned how to look into our past and to deal with our past. The reason why we are repeating patterns is because you have all of these emotions stuck inside of you, all of these experiences, all these stories that you have been telling yourself, and they are now playing out in your life because life is just a reflection of all that you are. All that you're carrying around inside with you, all of your emotions, all your limiting beliefs, all the stories that you're telling yourself, your reality around you is a reflection of that. If you are carrying around a lot of unresolved situations from your past, a lot of unresolved emotions, and a lot of stories about yourself and reality, then you are going to have an experience of that. And this is the reason why you are attracting the same type of people into your life again and again and again, or the same type of situations. It's just a reflection of your inner state. It's just a reflection of all that you are. But this can also, of course, cause a lot of unhappiness. If you're trying to get into a relationship and you keep attracting the same type of partners that make you unhappy. Have you ever experienced that? You're kind of meeting the same type of people over and over again. Maybe in friendships or in relationships or at work. And when you think back, you realize that they are reminding you of something from your past. And it's because you have these unresolved issues within you that are just playing out in your life. This is also where the power lies. When you realize that everything is a reflection of you, you kind of also realize how much power you have to change everything. When you change yourself on the inside, when you change your beliefs, when you change your inner state, then your outer reality changes as well. If you feel like you don't have depth in your connections, you're going to feel lonely as a result of that. This is kind of tying back to the first part where you have learned to deny and suppress yourself so much that you are kind of operating from this superficial level, this very shallow, narrow bandwidth that you think that people will accept. and you're kind of spending your life up here, like this is the only level that people will accept me at. If I would bring up my true self, my true emotions, people would not accept that. So I'm just gonna be up here on this superficial level, and I'm going to interact with others like that. But of course, if you're not able to go deep within yourself, then you will also not be able to go deep with other people, which means that all of your interactions with others will be very shallow and superficial, because you're not letting yourself be truly seen by others, and you cannot truly see others deeply as well. And this is, I think, what leads to loneliness. That maybe you have friends around you, but they don't really know you, and maybe you don't even really know them as well. You are not really sharing your true dreams or your true fears, or what's really going on with you. And this can also lead to unhappiness. Another thing that can make people unhappy is that we are not living the lives that we truly want to live. We're kind of stuck in this hamster wheel way of life that is just not what we really want. We know we have to do it because we have to make money and we have to earn a living, but it's not what we want. And this can also cause a lot of unhappiness. If you're spending 8, 9 hours a day at a job that you don't like, yes, you're getting paid, but if you could choose, would you really spend that time sitting at your office in front of that computer doing that thing? Maybe some people are lucky and they really love their jobs, but I think a lot of people are also very unhappy. They have learned to not feel it too much, to just stuff it down and go and get the work done. But if you would really tune into yourself, how do you feel in the mornings when you have to go to work? How do you feel when you're sitting at your desk and you're looking outside and you're seeing this wonderful weather, but you know you're going to be trapped at your desk in your office for the whole entire day? And not just today, but tomorrow, and the day after tomorrow, and the day after that. If you would close your eyes for a moment and think about what your dream life would look like, if you could do exactly anything that you wanted to do as a career, if there was nothing holding you back, if you could dream completely freely, where would you live? How would you spend your free time? Would you be traveling around the world? Would you live in the mountains? What would you do, and what would you work with, and who would you want to spend your time with? This is your dream scenario. And then what is your life like today? If there's a very big distance between your dream life and how you're living your life today, then this is also going to cause unhappiness. I'm not saying that to make you feel bad, I'm just saying that to help you understand why you're feeling unhappy, and that it's completely understandable to feel unhappy if there's a big gap between where you want to be and where you are today. But the important thing to know here is that the more you start to work on yourself, and the more you start to realize that reality is much more flexible than you might think, and that you actually have a lot more power to control your life than you might believe. But you kind of have to do the work to be able to get to that. And that's what this channel is about. How can you start to live a life that you really want to live? How can you start to be more connected to yourself? The next thing that I want to bring up, it's what I like to call superficial distractions. We are craving depth, we are craving meaning, but yet most of the things that we are doing to spend our free time, they are very superficial. If you're spending time on Netflix, or you're just sitting in front of a television and just consuming TV programs, binge watching one TV series after another, or you're spending all this time on social media, we crave depth, we crave meaning. We want to actually feel that what we are doing is worth something. These things that social media, it's so addictive, right? All this social media is giving us, or all these other superficial distractions, is that it kind of makes us busy in the moment, but in the long term, it's not giving us what we really want. And it's the same with fast food, for example. You're hungry and you go to eat a burger, and yes, it's making you full, but it's not giving you the nutrients that your body really needs. It's the same thing with social media. Yes, it may temporarily make you feel less bored in that moment, but it will not solve anything. When you put the phone down, you're back to where you started. You're still in your old life, nothing changed. And when you feel those feelings of boredom or whatever it is that you're trying to flee from, you're picking up the phone, you keep scrolling again, and still nothing changes because you're not doing anything to really create the depth and meaning that you need. The solution is not to distract yourself with more superficial things. The solution is to go deeper and to put those superficial distractions aside and start to go deeper, start to be able to actually feel what's going on inside of you, to be able to release that and clear that and look at that and acknowledge it and let it be there till you can heal it. Because when you heal it, you're going to raise your frequency, your vibration, and that is going to make you feel happier. You cannot numb your way out of pain. You kind of have to feel the pain to be able to work through it and to release it. And by numbing yourself, you're just making things worse. And my last point is negativity. It's all around us, right? This negativity. The news. I made a separate video about that, how we are affected if we keep watching the news day in and day out, several times a day. If you keep hearing day in and day out all the things that are going wrong in the world, how can you stay positive at the same time? It's just going to bring you down. When we're watching the news, we're almost only getting the bad news. And we're getting the bad news from all around the world, and it's too much. It's too much negativity. You cannot consume this much negativity multiple times a day and still expect to not be affected by it. And right now I'm just talking about what you are consuming, what you're taking in from the outside, because you always have to be true to what's inside of you already, but what are you taking in from the outside that's not even yours? This is a pretty easy fix. It's a lot easier than some of the other stuff because you can cut out negativity pretty quickly. You can just decide to stop watching the news and you have cut out a big source of negativity from your life. And the same thing is if you have a lot of negative people around you, you can kind of set boundaries towards those people if it's people that you still want to keep in your life. If it's just people that you don't really have a very close connection to, then you can just choose to distance yourself from them. And these things that I'm sharing with you, they're pretty universal, right? There's so many of us that are up here on the superficial level, that are living these lives that we don't like, that are disconnected from ourselves. It's very common themes. This is kind of the reality for most of us. And I'm talking about this to raise awareness so that we can start to live in a different way. But if we don't even know what's happening, then how can we change it? These are some of the themes that I believe can make people unhappy. Now I would like to get into the second part, which is how we can kind of do the opposite. And I would like to call this section soul satisfaction. If you can close your eyes for a moment and think about your soul, the deepest aspect of you. If you would ask yourself, what does my soul want? Then you're kind of starting to connect to this part of you that is your soul essence. The first point is acceptance. And when I'm saying this word, just notice how you're feeling. Because if you are right now in a lot of pain and a lot of suffering, then when someone says you have to accept yourself, it's almost going to sound false. It's going to sound like this cliche. This is completely understandable, and this has absolutely been my experience. When I was in my lowest point and someone told me like, oh, you have to love yourself, you have to accept yourself, it's such a big gap from really not liking yourself, from really hating where you are, to loving where you are, that you have to do something to be able to close this gap. How I was able to close this gap was by feeling the pain, by feeling and releasing the pain. now I could release that, it could flow out, and then it started to transform. It was almost like this. I was in this pain, in this low state, and I was suppressing it inside my body. It was like keeping it pushed down. And then when I started to understand that I needed to feel my emotions, to release them, what started to happen was that I started to release the pain, and it started to change. And slowly, I was kind of raising myself up. So I was releasing shame, for example. I was feeling a lot of shame. And when I started to release that shame, after I did that many times, the shame kind of resolved, it kind of disappeared. And I was able to move up like this by feeling all the pain. And slowly, that's how you're kind of moving from pain to acceptance, or even to love, as high up as you want to go. But that's how you work through it, by releasing, by feeling, by accepting, by allowing, by no longer pushing things away, but doing the exact opposite, going into the pain. But it's not just our emotions, it's not just our stories. It can be any part of us. It can be our experiences, what we have been through in the past, our appearance, just accepting the totality of us and the things that we have been through. The more you start to work through these things, then you can start to accept them. What you resist persists. If you keep having this resistance, if you cannot accept it, that state of being, those emotions, they will persist. They cannot heal like that. It's like the saying, the only way out is through. You have to be able to let yourself go through the pain in order to come out healed on the other side. You will never be able to get to acceptance by resisting and pushing things down. That's why I'm saying that the only way out is through. If you want to be able to work through your pain, you have to be able to go through that pain, to feel that pain, to accept that pain, and to really come to a place where you can accept yourself, even the dark, heavy emotions, even the dark, heavy experiences that you have been through, the dark, heavy thoughts, that you can accept all of you, that you understand that you're not just this little polished version. You are this soul that has been through so many things, not in just this lifetime, but in many lifetimes. This is a very, very big, important part of starting to feel happier, is acceptance, accepting yourself, accepting the totality of who you are, and not just the dark parts of yourself, but also your dreams and your desires. And all these things that you have been trying to diminish in yourself, the more you can let those come through and accept them, the more happy you're going to feel. This might mean that you might need to let go of certain people in your life that will not feel comfortable when you're starting to show more of yourself. And that's just a part of it, unfortunately. Some people will not be able to deal well with that, and you might have to part ways. Maybe forever, or maybe for some time. You just don't know. But just trust that when you're accepting yourself, you will kind of be able to attract to you the people that accept you also, even if it might take a little bit of time to find those people. That's the first part, accepting yourself, which leads me to the second part. And that is deep connection. And by now you already see how they're tied together. That when you're able to go deep within yourself and to be with all of yourself, with the darkness, with the passion, with the dreams, with the light, with all the parts of yourself, then you're also able to connect with other people on a deep level. If you can handle it in yourself, you can handle it in other people as well. And that means that you're going to start to be able to have these deep connections that you're longing for. You're going to be able to have the deep connection with yourself, first and foremost, and that is going to also help you to have the deep connections with the people around you in your life. Which means that you can start to have the type of relationships that really fulfill you, where you feel truly seen and accepted for who you truly are. That's when you are able to have love, to have deep, loving connections, to get out of loneliness. This might mean that some of the people that you are currently seeing will no longer be a good match for you. If before you have not been able to go deep and all of your connections were very superficial, and all of a sudden you're learning to be deep and accepting, then it's going to be a mismatch, right? You are starting to want to have a connection from this level, but the people around you are still on the more superficial level and they don't want to go deep. It might be painful, but those connections that you had, if they're falling away, just let them fall away. Maybe at some point you're reconnecting later in life, who knows? But just be okay with the fact that when you are changing, everything around you changes. The relationships that you have change as well. When this is happening, it can be pretty lonely. This was my experience. I was not connecting with my old friends anymore, but I had not found new friends yet, and there was a period in my life when I was alone. If this is your experience, if you're feeling lonely, if you're feeling like the friends that you used to be with, that you're no longer a match for each other, then that's okay. Just trust that if you keep connecting deeply with yourself, if you're being honest, if you're being authentic, if you're being your true self, then you're going to connect to the people out there who accept you for who you are. The last part are actually two components put together, which is freedom and then passion and meaning. This is kind of what we want. We want freedom to be able to do what we actually want to do. We don't want to be forced to go to a job we don't like. We don't want to be forced to do things we don't want to do. We want to have the freedom to choose. And we want to be able to do things that we are passionate about, that we actually love doing, that light us up, that give us purpose, that give us meaning. Our souls want to be free. It doesn't mean that we will be able to quit our job just like that, but by asking yourself, what is meaningful to me? What gives my life purpose and meaning? What fills my life with passion? And it doesn't mean that it has to be this big thing. It can be as simple as, I love dancing. And if I can go once a week to a dance class, maybe that fills me up with passion. Or maybe I love drawing, then just drawing something might fill me up with passion. It might be a hobby that you would like to start, it might be an education, it can be anything. But just asking yourself, what are the things that bring me deep joy, that I'm actually passionate about, that I actually love doing? These are the activities that you would want to move yourself towards. If you could have the 3 steps of this soul satisfaction all in order, then that means that you are taking good care of yourself, you are in good care with your relationships, and you're doing things that are meaningful to you, living the life that you want to live. Can you see how different that experience is to the experience that we were talking about in the beginning, where you are disconnected from yourself? And because you are disconnected from yourself, you cannot connect deeply to other people, so you're feeling very lonely. And you have all this unresolved baggage that you're carrying with you from your past that's causing you this pain. And you're spending all this time at a job that you don't like. You're spending all your free time with these superficial distractions that are just not satisfying you. And you're spending time with consuming all this negativity that's just bringing you down even further. As you see, we will not be able to go deeply into each and every section. This is more painting a picture right now of a life in unhappiness and a life in happiness. And then we are going to explore further along how to close the gap and go from here and move more and more over to here. But it's a big meaty subject, and we will have to take it little by little. That's it for this video. There are more videos coming out soon, so I hope you will join me on this journey, and I'll see you again soon.